So my name's Suzanne, and I'm one of the HE Progression Advisors here at HEPSI, and I'm joined by my colleague Amy, and we'll be taking you through this afternoon's session. And so today we're going to be looking at future labour market trends. So in this session we're going to be covering what future careers will look like and where jobs might increase in the future. We're going to also look at graduate opportunities and what sort of graduate opportunities there could be available, and also look at the skills that future graduate jobs will need as well. So we'll take you through that this afternoon. We're going to have a quiz opportunity and ask you a couple of questions, but also a chance for you to ask questions as well. So if you'd like to put anything in chat as we go along, and there'll be a chance for questions at the end as well. So to start off, what do we mean by graduate jobs? So we talk about that during this session, but we thought it'd be good to start with an explanation of what they are. So thinking about higher education to begin with, so you might often hear this described as HE. So it's university level qualification above level 4. So and that could be studied at university, college, might be a specialist provider, so if you're doing something like dance and drama, or it could be a distance learning provider. And qualifications that fit into higher education can be things like degrees, HNCs, HNDs, foundation degrees, and higher degree apprenticeships. So lots of different information comes along when we talk about higher education. So when we talk about a graduate job, we mean a job that you need to require a HE qualification to enter. So a job that needs you to have done any of those qualifications you can see in the top paragraph. So jobs that people will go on to. So during this presentation, when we talk about graduate jobs, that's what we mean. So just to start off, to give you an idea. So what we're going to go on to next is a little bit of a quiz. So we'll start off.
I think we just need to move the slides on a little bit. Is anyone else still on the what do we mean by graduate job slide?
Yeah, I am here. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what's happened, so apologies that that hasn't worked. Right. There we go, Suzanne.
Is that?
So yeah, so we're on that slide. If it doesn't work, then I'll keep moving us.
Amy, do you want to click on?
Sure, of course I can. So, which job sector saw the biggest increase in graduate jobs in 2021? So what does everyone think? Do you think it's A, B or C? So A, sports and leisure, B, health, or C, built environment? If you want to pop it into chat, or you may have a poll that comes up for you. Not everyone might be able to see this, so we can try the poll, and if you can't see it, then please just pop it in the chat. Just give you a few minutes to do that. So we've had a few responses and most people are saying C. So what do you think, Suzanne? So we've moved on. So 48% increase in graduate jobs in the built environment. So most of you saying C, that was absolutely correct. Suzanne, shall I move on and then you can go through, you can do the next one?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Amy.
So what is a human computer? So A is a person who worked on the invention of the computer. B is a person who calculated the maths needed for space travel. Or C, a person who developed mobile phones. What does everyone think? So again, if you can see the poll, then please just answer it there.
If the poll's not coming up for any reason, then just pop your answer in chat for us. That'd be great.
So What answers have we got? Oh, we've got a bit of a split here, Suzanne. We've got A and B coming up as the most popular. So we've got a 50-50 split there.
Yeah, we've got B in chat.
Lovely. So let's give you the answer. So it is B. Yes. Well done to those of you who said B. And then the next one. So in 2021, approximately how many robots work in UK factories? So would you say A, 1 million, B, 3 million, or C, 5 million? Any guesses there? Let me just bring up the poll for you. If you can see it and you want to respond, then that's brilliant. So have we had any responses? We've had a couple. Is there anything in chat? Oh, we've had a B in chat. Yeah, I think the most popular is A. So let's give you the answer. So B, 3 million. Yeah. And then the last question for you. So what does a swarm artist do? So is it A, create artwork on large pieces of canvas, B, create artwork using drone swarms, or C, create artwork using swans? What do you think? Any ideas? So we've had 4 responses again, and everyone is thinking B. So let's give you the answer. Yeah, you're right. Well done. Yeah. So creating artwork using drone swarms. Suzanne and I started having a look at videos of these and absolutely all sorts. So you might have seen, I think they used drones in the Olympics, didn't they? And a few other things where they've involved drones. So that could be a future job for us. Okay, so thank you very much for doing that quiz. Just to move on then, so one of the things that we're going to talk about today is about job sectors. So we thought it was quite useful to maybe show you what job sectors are and a few examples of them. So on the slide now is basically just a list of different job sectors. You might also hear them called industries. And they're essentially areas of work where there could be, say, a family of jobs within there. And these can be really, really wide ranging. So you might have, say, an administration role on the first on that list there, but it might be within the finance sector. So sometimes you can kind of move across sectors depending on the individual job. So these are all taken from the National Careers Service. And then we've got a few existing and growing sectors that are very important for us locally in South Yorkshire. So they are on the screen now, and they just show some of the sectors that might have quite a few job roles in them within South Yorkshire. So advanced manufacturing, we've got a lot of manufacturing locally. We've got lots of creative and digital companies. We've got some big healthcare and technology companies. So lots and lots of different industries locally. And these are just some of them, but the ones that are growing and possibly existing or, you know, key sectors for us. Okay, so a question for you all then, if you want to pop anything in chat. So what would you say were maybe an example of a job that didn't exist 10 years ago? Has anyone got any ideas? Just give you a minute to put anything in chat. So jobs that didn't exist 10 years ago, what might that be? Or 20 years ago? We could open it out if you want to. Oh, I can see someone typing. Yeah, YouTuber, yeah, vlogger, exactly. Yeah, really, really popular ones. Strange that both people in the chat have come up with those. So yeah, let's just show you the first ones. So 3 that we've identified are TikTok agents. So some of the TikTok stars have actually got agents specifically for their work or future collaborations, for their promoted ads, for example. And TikTok only launched in 2016, so very, very new. We've also got a cloud architect on there, clouds where we store a lot of our data. You know, they are getting increasingly big, aren't they? So a cloud architect is someone who will kind of map that out, so not a typical architect. And then a sustainability manager. There have been sustainability roles, but maybe we've seen more prominence in them recently. So that's looking at kind of green technologies and trying to be maybe as eco-friendly as possible in different industries or areas of work. Okay, so another question for you. So jobs that existed 10 years ago that are now disappearing. Any ideas? I'll give you a few minutes to think about that one. No ideas yet. Yeah, so shop assistants. Yeah, I was doing a session with a colleague earlier, and maybe the kind of move away from shop assistants was identified there. So tell you what we've got. So retail and checkout staff. So the checkouts, there have been a few different companies who have done new kind of shops where they don't have checkouts, they don't have many staff in the store. It's all done by lots of very, very high-tech technology that can identify when you pick up a product, when you pop it in your bag, and then you just walk back out again. So you scan with your phone as you walk in, and then you just walk out, and it automatically calculates what you've put in your bag, and then you're charged as you go out. Same with the self-service checkouts in retail. There's been a big shift, especially in supermarkets, for people to do that. And then social media manager, I think that was a job that was really, really popular a few years ago, but I think now it might be just absorbed into other marketing roles or other PR roles, so it's not necessarily a job in its own right. And then telemarketers as well. So they would maybe stand and try and ask you questions. I can remember them from when I was younger, and yeah, you don't really see them anymore. So another question for you, do you notice any similarities or any themes with any of the jobs that we can think about that didn't exist 10 years ago? And, you know, maybe jobs that were really, really prevalent 10 years ago, and now they're kind of disappearing. So maybe think about the skills and qualifications that are required to do those jobs. Any ideas? See someone typing again. Thank you for all of this participation, everyone. So some of the skills and qualifications that you might need for some of these jobs, is there any kind of similarities or differences with those emerging and declining careers? Yeah, so someone has identified in the chat very, very quickly technology, and yeah, someone else, technology is replacing a lot of jobs, so a need for technical skills or qualifications, definitely, yeah. So that basically means that some of these new jobs that are coming around, they have an increased emphasis on technology, whatever that might look like, whether it might be an IT role or something that's just very, very high tech, and maybe some of those jobs that don't necessarily need so many of those skills that could be automated, maybe are being. Okay, so a quick quiz for you again. So what do you think you would do as a cricket farmer? So these are all new and emerging careers. So any ideas what you think a cricket farmer would do? Give you a few seconds to think about it. Any ideas? Oh, I'm sorry, I've clicked by accident and I've given you the answer. Oh, if anyone was typing, then I'm really, really sorry. Yes, the person who's just put in chat, yes, you're exactly right. So monitoring, maintaining and breeding crickets for a healthy, high protein food production. Anyone fancy crickets for their lunch, perhaps? I'm not sure how far we're going to get with that one. I know that when I've spoken to students in schools about it, they are not keen on eating crickets. Okay, so the next one, and I'm going to move my hands away from the mouse so I don't give this one away. A bioprinting engineer. What do you think you would do for a bioprinting engineer? Any ideas? Should I give you the answer for this one? I can't see any responses, so let me give you the answer. So they create tissue for human transplants using hardware and software with the next generation of 3D printers. And this is actually already happening. So I remember, I think they'd created, I say they, scientists had created a human heart from a 3D printer. So that, you know, there's already a lot of this technology ongoing. And the last one, a behaviour prediction analyst. So any ideas what a behaviour prediction analyst would do? Again, just give you a little bit of time in chat. So I don't think this one is quite as straightforward, is it? So they predict human and system behaviour based on data and algorithms. So again, very, very advanced technology using data and algorithms. Same with the bioprinting engineer, lots of very high-tech stuff going on in there. So you can see that a lot of these future jobs might have, you know, an increased focus on technology. Suzanne, we've got up to Graduate Jobs 2018. Do you want me to go through this one or shall I pass back over to you?
Yeah, I can take over. Thank you, Amy. So for this bit, we thought it'd be useful to cover graduate jobs and look back to where they were and where they are now. Obviously, there's been an immense change over the last 2 years, so the data that's available is quite difficult because a lot of the predictions haven't come true and things have changed a lot, and a lot of the research that's out there at the minute was written at the height of the pandemic. So it's just a bit of a health warning for some of the figures that we'll show you. So you can see that graduate jobs in 2018, this is showing that graduate jobs have always been in demand. So there were 4.5 million graduates in 2018, but 2.5 million new professional level roles had been added in the previous decade. And looking even back in 2018, there was a shortage of people. The numbers that we needed 150,000 more highly skilled workers. So this just showed that there's always been shortages in different areas. So even looking back in 2018, there were shortages in finance, IT, construction, engineering, healthcare and hospitality. And a lot of those shortages have just increased for a variety of reasons. So that's looking back to 2018, and then this is where we are in 2021-22. So to show you that still graduate labour market is still strong despite everything that's happened in the last couple of years. So you can see actually there are more, slightly more employed graduates in professional level jobs compared to 2018, even taking into account the pandemic and different jobs and the effect that had on jobs. And also there's a percentage of graduates that go on to further study. So you might go to university and do your course. You might spend 3 or 4 years at university, but then go on to further study as well. So that's another option, not just going straight into employment. And that the average salary for a graduate was about £24,492 last year. So yeah, it's still a strong market for graduate jobs. And then on the next slide, we can see how the labour market is recovering. and that this has continued throughout the last few years. So there's been lots of other effects on the labour market, not just the pandemic. Lots of things have happened, and things have dipped, but they've always recovered. And you can see that actually people who went into jobs that needed a degree is actually one of the it's at the highest it's been for growth. So I know it's hard to predict where things will be in a few years' time, but just showing you the trend that's continuing with graduate jobs. And you might be thinking, well, what are graduate jobs and what sort of areas can you go into? So you can see here, this is the range of different jobs that people went into last year. So there's a whole range of different sectors that people progress into with graduate jobs. So often we hear about people doing things like healthcare related and teaching and jobs such as that, but actually there's a whole range of different things that people move into. And there are lots of sectors that just need you to have been to university. So they're just looking that you've got those skills and those qualifications from a higher education qualification. And there's often ways you can transfer those skills to lots of other sectors. So not to take, you don't have to take the figures from this slide, but just the range of different sectors that people progress into once they've completed their higher education qualification. So there's lots of different things that are out there. And as well as students that do what we'd see more as a traditional higher education qualification, we've also got the opportunity of degree apprenticeships. So there's a couple of examples on the slides of degree apprenticeships. So if you're not familiar with these would be an option after you finish your level 3 course. Instead of applying to a university, you'd apply to an employer for a degree apprenticeship, and you do your degree through your employer. So typically, usually 4 days at work and 1 day at university, but they all work a little bit differently. They're available in lots of different sectors, but it can depend on where you live in the country as to what those sectors are that are available. So you can just see a couple of examples on the screen. We've got leadership and management, and we've also got engineering. So lots of different things that you can go into. So just to give you a taste of what's out there, as well as go into a university to do your degree. And then I'm going to pass back to Amy to talk about skills.
Thanks, Suzanne. Okay, so in terms of, we've kind of looked at the different job sectors that you might be working in the future, some of those new jobs that might be emerging, and we've looked at the graduate jobs and, you know, maybe a few years ago and now most recently how that's looking. So now that you know all of those things, what kind of skills do you think employers are looking for in their new recruits? So these skills have been taken from prospects.ac.uk, and if it's not a website that you're familiar with, it's a really, really good website for having a look at lots and lots of different careers. And we'll show you it later. We've got a few screenshots for you, but just have a think about the skills that employers want from their new recruits. So what skills do you think you're going to need to put in your applications and shout from the rooftops to employers, or maybe in any applications that you do? Does anyone have any ideas? So I can't see anyone writing in the chat, but I might just tell you what these are, okay? So the skills that prospects, so they've been looking at graduate employers, so those ones that Suzanne mentioned, so the ones where they want you to have a university level qualification, and these are the qualifications that they've been asking for. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but just a few to point out that you might not know. So resilience, the ability to bounce back, and if you've had setbacks, then you don't just give up, you keep going. I think over the past few years, then I think all students and staff to a certain extent have definitely shown their resilience and you know, not given up and just adapted to all of the changes from right, you're working from home, no, you're back in sixth form or college. So lots of changes that everyone has adapted to really well. We've also got commercial awareness on there. So commercial awareness is almost like business awareness. So the awareness of what that business needs. But similarly, another thing that employers might look for is the kind of the customer experience and an awareness of what that customer is after, because that's really important for a lot of organisations or companies as well, isn't it? So quite a few things on there, and hopefully at the moment you could think of some examples of, yes, I can definitely show my adaptability, I can show my research skills through some of my current qualifications, but then there might also be others on there that you might think, well, I haven't actually got that one yet. And that's fine, because we're not expecting you to be absolute experts in the stage that you are at in your education at the moment. But these might be some of the skills that you might think about trying to get from volunteering or some work experience, whether it's just a Saturday job. Anything like that can be really, really worthwhile. And obviously, in all of those different sectors that we mentioned at the start, they will all have different skills for each individual job, or there might be a skill that you might need more in a particular sector than others. So this is a survey that was done, so they've taken data from 2016 and then they were looking at future predictions for 2030. So this is from the Bank of England, and they've basically identified 3 skills that they expect will be needed more by 2030. So those technological skills, I think in the past few years, we've definitely seen, and through this presentation, we've seen that they're really, really important. Social and emotional skills increased importance as well, and I think there was a worry about the pandemic and the effect on people that it might have when we had to stay at home for longer periods of time. So I think that prediction is probably about right. And then higher thinking and reasoning skills were expected to increase. The ones at the bottom are the ones that were expected to be needed less. So the physical and manual skills and the basic thinking and reasoning skills, sorry. And I think the way that they've been identified is if you think about the jobs that could maybe be automated. So physical and manual skills, if you think of factories and the increase on machines doing jobs rather than a person doing that job. And then obviously, you know, they need they need to upskill so that they can work those machines and manage, you know, when things go wrong. And then the basic thinking and reasoning, again, that can all be done by technology now. So in terms of thinking about which jobs are most likely to be automated, so this is a prediction, but you can go on the Bank of England and you can type in different jobs and it'll say the chances that they estimate or predict that will have maybe an increased chance of automation, or whether it's got a very, very low chance of automation. Teachers, I've already checked, and apparently quite low, so you're absolutely safe if you've got any staff listening to this. But as you can see, the lower skilled jobs have a much higher chance of their increased chance in automation, and the higher skilled jobs are much, much less. So that basically means that we're going to need more of a focus on those kind of higher skills, and maybe upskilling and retraining. And one of the ways that you can do that is through higher qualifications and maybe studying throughout your life and lifelong learning, perhaps. So I'll pass over back to Suzanne just to finish things off.
Thanks, Amy.
So we've got key changes to the labour market.
Yeah, so we've looked today that there's lots of different things have affected change, and like we said, we had kind of one set of plans that were in mind, and then things have changed rapidly over the last couple of years. So things that we've seen recently is that technology has been used in new ways, and probably ways that we wouldn't have predicted. Even if we'd have given this talk 2 years ago, would be very different. So yeah, we've adapted, and we've probably adapted more than we ever thought we would be able to in the last couple of years. Increasingly though, it's a trend that's probably increased. We've seen lower skilled jobs overtaken by automation. So some jobs are difficult to automate. It's like we've seen that Bank of England report, will a robot overtake my job? There are some jobs that it won't happen in, but there's also lots of areas that have increased. So focus on sustainability, green technologies and ethical practices, and we're increasingly seeing that people are thinking about that for their future jobs. So even if it's not a job that's directly linked to kind of sustainability, companies and individuals looking at how they can include that in their everyday jobs. So I think that is a job that will continue to grow and areas that will continue to develop. And if we give this session again in a couple of years, there might be lots of new jobs and different things that we can talk about. So if we're talking about all these things, what sort of things can you do to future-proof your career and think about, those years ahead? And if you're currently doing your level 3 qualification and thinking about going to university, we're thinking maybe getting into the job market in maybe 4 or 5 years' time, and working beyond that, what different things could you be doing? So some jobs will be lost to automation, but it does mean lots more will be created. But it does mean the ability to work with machines will be important. And that's not just, like we saw right back at the beginning, we talked about swarm artists. It's not just engineering and technology jobs, there's also creative jobs that are involved in this as well. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I'm creative, I don't really like engineering, not that sort of thing, there's lots of opportunities for people and lots of things like problem solving and things like that. But you will need to reskill potentially through your working life and adapt as new jobs emerge. So potentially you could easily be doing a job in 10, 20 years time that doesn't exist yet. And that doesn't just go for students who are currently doing qualification, that goes for all of us. So things will continue to change. But also if you're thinking, I don't know what job I want to do, I've not seen a job that I like, could be it doesn't exist yet, and you easily find that future job that you could do. But think about that, lots of the jobs we're seeing require higher level skills. So the skills that Amy's talked about, that's what increasingly employers are looking for. And one of the ways to gain those higher level skills is through a HE qualification. And also to give you that opportunity to move into lots of different career areas in the future. So if you're thinking about your different careers areas, where can you go to find out about it? So one good source is UCAS. So on the UCAS website, you can look at different careers. So you can see here an example of a job of advertising accounts manager. And importantly, that a lot of students ask me about is salary. So you can see the salary of the job, but also how many jobs there are in that sector. So it starts to give you an idea of, are you looking at job areas that there's lots of jobs available in, or is it one that's maybe more competitive? So that's a great place to start on the UCAS website. And then we've also got another site, which is Prospects. So on the Prospects site, this will tell you all about different graduate jobs. So you can see there another example, but it also shows you jobs that relate to that. And it helps you to see what graduates do. So if you're at the stage where you've picked what you'd like to study after your level 3 course, this is a great place to start to look at the different options. So we've covered a lot of information in today's session and covered lots of different things and lots of things for you to think about. But just a bit of a summary to think about the future. So a few key points to take away from all the different things we've covered today. Careers research. We'd always say that this is important. To do your research so you're fully informed about what you're picking next. So we've shown you a couple of places you can start your research, and there's lots of other sites available as well. But it's continuing to keep up to date with future trends and planning your future path. So not just while you're at college or sixth form, but throughout your career as well. Thinking about those higher level skills and qualifications, so the things we've talked about today, how are your skills? Where would you rank yourself on that? Is there any of those skills you're thinking, yeah, I need to improve those? Thinking about future jobs, are they things that I need to be working on? And that's not just maybe while you're at college, that's if you decide to go to university or go into a degree apprenticeship, can you be developing those skills during your time when you're studying as well? What opportunities are there to develop those skills? Automation, as we said, will need you mean to keep learning and updating skills. So throughout your working life, you will continue to develop your skills as well. And I take away from that, if there's any opportunities to continue to develop your skills, then take them. So whether that's while you're studying now, whether that's at university, whether that's in future work, whatever opportunities that come up for developing skills, then make the most of them and use those opportunities. STEM subjects, so by that we mean science and technology and engineering and maths, will continue to be important. So if they're things you're currently studying or they're things that you're studying alongside another qualification, those skills will always be important. And now we're seeing technology in every job. No matter what you pick in the future, there's technology skills. So whether things like short courses you could do alongside your current qualifications that might help you to increase those skills as well, if STEM's not something you're studying for your main qualifications. And then finally, to think about transferable skills. So you'll be developing some skills now on your courses, and you'll be developing skills wherever you move on to next. But thinking about how you can transfer those. So things like communication skills will move across every job area and every job sector. So think about what skills you have that you could transfer across or from part-time jobs and things like that. So just a few key points to take away from today.